You know, normally, obviously, I do a lot of professional production and do this whole thing, but I just got done watching the committee talk about the CFP and Kirk Herbstreit and Reese Davis and the other guys all discuss the CFP. And I don't think I've ever been more frustrated with the absolute nonsense that I'm hearing than I am as of this moment. And I'll tell you why. And this is something that I have stood by since the beginning of all this. What is frustrating is the way that this committee holds literally the power in their hands to delegate the future of kids, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. And we're telling them consistently, we are playing favorites without saying it. And you're telling them that you will never be good enough because you chose to go to this university. And so since you are at that university, we just don't hold you in the highest regard that we do another university. A lot of people say it's about money and it's about this and it's about that. And that very well may be the case. But when I hear Kirk Herbstreit week in and week out justify Ohio State not playing for weeks and holding a number 4 spot, okay? And he said they look dominant. Yeah, against teams. Penn State's won what, 2 or 3 games this year? The only win that they've had with a team that has won more than 2 or 3 games this season is over Indiana. And that was not a dominant win. It was not dominant. They turned the football over consistently. Inside the red zone, they fumbled. They threw Justin Fields, what was it, 3 interceptions in that football game? Don't tell me that was a dominant win, okay? Because it wasn't. That game was very much in doubt until the end, right? Here, and you know, that's the thing. You're patronizing us. You're acting like we're not watching these games. You're acting like we can't go and look at a team's schedule and see what their schedule is like. Texas A&M is ranked number 5 in the country. The one team that they have played that was ranked outside of the subdivision of the SEC West was Florida, and they got beat by Florida. And they got manhandled by Alabama. Manhandled. That was not a close football game. It really wasn't. And why is Iowa State number 6 in the country over Cincinnati, who they are dropping through the ranks by saying, well, you just haven't played anybody ranked? You haven't played anybody that's ranked because you're not ranking those teams. And then you've got Louisiana Lafayette ranked 13 spots behind the team that they've beat. And they beat them convincingly in that football game. And you're saying it's because, well, the way that they've played football lately. They've lost 2 games in the Big 12. Stop giving too much credit to these Power 5 conferences. Do you honestly think the Big 12 is elite this year? Do you think the Big 10 is elite this year? Michigan State is awful. Michigan is awful. Penn State was 0-5 before they won a football game. 0-5 before they won a football game. In the Big 12, Texas Tech beat Houston Baptist by 2 points. And you say, well, they did really good against a ranked Texas team because you ranked them. But why are you've got OU with 2 losses at number 10? Ahead of an undefeated Carolina Coastal football team that beat BYU, who is also a very legitimate football team. If you want to talk about strength of conference, okay, fine. Carolina Coastal and Louisiana Lafayette, outside of their conferences, have wins over ranked opponents. Who, by the way, BYU and Coastal, those 2 teams were not given enough credit for taking that football game on last minute. They scheduled that thing, like 2 days out? Neither one of them had played for a while. BYU hadn't played for a while. Coastal hadn't played for a while. And I know somebody's going to go, well, what about USC? They're 5-0. I feel the same way about USC that I do Ohio State. Not enough games. Your conference is not that strong. It's not that tough. I don't know what changed from, what was it, 1984, 85, the last time a national champion other than Notre Dame was not in a Power 5 conference. It was BYU. What has changed since then that you believe that only the Power 5 conferences have the elite programs? How strong is the ACC? The ACC can only be given credit this season because of Notre Dame's inclusion, because they were forced in that out of necessity to play in that conference championship. That was a necessity thing for Notre Dame. They recognized that. And what if Clemson beats them? Everybody's already talking about how Notre Dame's going to be out if they lose. And they're going to go with that one-loss Clemson football team. And what's going to be the justification? Well, Trevor Lawrence was out. Well, they really didn't struggle all that bad with their backup in that football game if anybody watched it, especially offensively. Defensively, they weren't that great. But then again, who the hell really is anymore in this day and age? But the point of what I'm saying is there's all these excuses that they're willing to use for one team, but not for another. And I'm not apologetic. Cincinnati and Coastal and Louisiana Lafayette have all played more games than Ohio State, and yet look where they sit. You've got USC all the way back, and look at where they sit. Why won't you give USC, if that's going to be the case, the same justification? At what point does it end? At what point does the committee look and go, we actually have to do what's right? And I am sick to death of hearing these panelists justify Ohio State. I don't have anything against Ohio State. The big game, Ohio State and Michigan, I generally root for Ohio State. I don't have any grudges against anybody in college football. Yeah, sure, there's teams I don't like, but I have prided myself on always being honest. You got a 2-loss OU team that's sitting ahead of Coastal. This goes all the way back to the BCS era when people were talking about this stuff, right? They were talking about this stuff in the BCS era. You had an undefeated Boise State. They were just told you're just not good enough, and they beat OU. They beat them. You had a Houston football team during the playoff era was told you're just not good enough. Ran all over Florida State. You had a Central Florida team, you're just not good enough. Ran all over that coveted SEC Auburn team. I am so tired of only the rich getting richer. You are destroying yourselves. Do you know that? The playoff was the understanding, and it's still the understanding that we've got to get the best 4 teams in. Okay, we've got a complicated deposition this year. Again, it's nobody's fault this season. But it is what it is, right? Okay, so at best, Ohio State's going to have 6 wins. At best, Cincinnati's going to have 8. At best, Louisiana Lafayette's going to have 9. At best, Coastal's going to have, 10, 11, 12? Do you really think OU is that damn good this year? How good is the Big 12? I need just reality check. Reality check. You're giving way too much credit. The Big 12, when was the last time they even sniffed the national title? You let in that one-loss OU football team to watch them get absolutely smashed on. They haven't won a playoff game. OU has not won a playoff game. Bob Stoops was 1-3, 1-4 in BCS title games during that era. He was there, but he was losing, and badly. Losing badly. Come on. Was it Big Game Bob? Wasn't he 8-9 in bowl games overall? Big Game Bob. I'm tired of it. It's not fair to anybody, but it's especially not fair to the kids. You knew what kind of season this was from the beginning. Why didn't you expand the playoffs? I'm done. I'm sick to my I'm sick to my stomach for these kids. I really am. I really am. Should have expanded the playoffs. That would have been an easy answer. But nope. Here we are. All publicity is not good publicity.